Hey, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy Supreme Latios 14, and welcome to another installment of my Pokemon Unite Deep Dive series, where we take a look at a Pokemon, talk about it in full depth, and talk about whether it is worth purchasing with your Aeos coins. So, today's Pokemon is going to be one that received quite a bit of buffs here, and we're going to talk about whether this Pokemon, in my opinion, is still good, is worth purchasing, and that Pokemon, of course, is going to be Comfey here. So, Comfey is the latest Pokemon that was added to the game, and it just screamed unplayable. This Pokemon was extremely bad when it first came out because its heals were underwhelming. The effects of its moves were underwhelming. Like it was just horrible. But with an emergency update, it did receive quite a bit of buffs, which we're gonna, of course, talk about these as we go along with talking about its moves, as well as its kit, of course. So today's episode is going to be on Comfey. Rather, I should say this week's episode is going to be resolving around Comfey. So if you guys do enjoy these type of videos, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and of course hit that bell so you'll be notified whenever I go live or whenever I post videos like this. So Comfey, as you guys already know, is a supporter, and this is one of those Pokemon that is a hard supporter. Basically, it's not really meant to be offensive. It's pretty much meant to be, supporting the team, basically. Like supporting allies, stuff like that. So, this is a Pokemon that is kind of a double-edged sword to an extent, of course. So, let's go ahead and we're going to talk about let's go ahead and we're gonna, like always, we're going to talk about its basic attack first and then talk about its passive. The passive is going to be something that you definitely want to remember whenever you play this Pokemon, should you choose to play this Pokemon, of course. So let's go ahead and let's dig into this. So basic attack wise, Comfey, whenever this Pokemon gets to its boosted basic, it basically deals damage, and then you get flowers around flowers for Comfey. You do get a maximum of 8, which we're gonna talk about that in just a second. But Comfey's boosted basic gives Comfey a third 2 flowers added to its flower icon, which you'll see as you play it. So nothing too crazy here to talk about. Only just the fact that with every boosted basic attack that Comfey gets will give it 2 flowers. So that's something to take note of. And then his passive, which is called Tri-Edge. So we'll read about this. So this says the Pokemon gains 1 flower whenever a set amount of time passes, and then the Pokemon gains 4 flowers when it enters tall grass. Now that part here is actually pretty important because that's already half of the flowers that you need to maximize on your attacks, because you're going to need those flowers for all of Comfey's moves. Specifically, synthesis, floral healing, and sweet kiss. So basically, the more flowers that you have, the stronger the effects of those 3 moves are going to be. So synthesis, floral healing, sweet kiss. Basically, those moves are going to have much stronger effects the more flowers you have. Basically, so basically, the way you want to make this Pokemon work is, once you enter tall grass, you get 4 flowers, and then you can always attach yourself to an ally, keep them alive, and then of course, get those last bit you need. And basically, you want to make sure you're consistently getting your maximum of 8 flowers, so you can take full advantage of the full effects of synthesis, which is its starting move, and floral healing or sweet kiss, whichever one you choose to play, of course. So that's pretty much how it works. So you want to make sure you get those flowers, and then you always want to make sure you're with your allies at all times, because Comfey by itself is pretty much just an easy target, basically. So Comfey is not meant to be offensive, unfortunately. It's just not that great as offensive at all. It really is not. So, and then if an ally nearby happens to have half remaining HP, basically this Pokemon gets a movement speed when it's near an ally that has very low HP. So basically, if it's a Pokemon that's very low, like it's about to die, then you basically have a movement speed which allows you to catch up with that ally, so you can attach them and heal them, which is pretty nice. Now, one thing they did buff, I believe, on this ability, I believe they buffed the pedal heal. I think. Oh no, wait, that's something else. Never mind. Um, but yeah, make sure if you ever play Comfey, you always want to make sure you get those flowers, because then your moves are going to be doing more work with that, of course. So let's go ahead and go into the progression here. So Comfey, of course, here it doesn't evolve, and it is a supporter, so definitely always play best to play this Pokemon on lane, probably preferably probably on the bottom lane to help your lane attacker, of course, make sure they get what they need. And because Comfey is so bad on the offense, you definitely want to make sure that you help your lane partner get all the farm, which is why I think personally for this Pokemon, I think EXP share is definitely a must because you basically want to make sure you help your ally level up as consistently as possible. And EXP share is great on Comfy because, in my opinion, because it really helps. It really helps it to to lane help your lane partner get XP as well as this item is also great to increase your HP and movement speed, which I think is also really nice. Something very very important to know. But we'll talk about the item build and everything later on. So let's go ahead and go into the moves here. So at level 1, you have a choice between Synthesis and Vine Whip. So Synthesis here is pretty much a move that allows Comfey to attach. Now, the Comfey is a Pokemon that does attach itself to to its allies, and then while it's attached, it restores that ally's HP. And basically, if the more flowers you have in your flower count, of course, then the more stronger the more stronger the effect of this move is going to be, and that's going to be applied as well for Floral Healing and Sweet Kiss as well too. And then obviously when you use it again, it just be attached and move in the designated direction. So basically, basically when you attach yourself to an ally, you have to press the bottom button or top on your analog, like your directional pad, and that's how you get off. In case you're wondering. So nothing too crazy to really talk about. Make sure you have your flowers up to 8, and then you have stronger effects basically. Now, Vine Whip is just a move that is just your basic offensive attack, which will slow the enemy team down once this hits. And basically, this hits the Pokemon in opposing Pokemon, dealing damage in the area effect, and then decreasing the movement speed for a short time. So it's one of those moves that slows them down, which is really nice. So your ally can pick them up pretty much, which I think is really nice for those early games, of course. So pretty cool stuff, I'd say. Now, Synthesis, I forgot to mention with Synthesis, it was pretty weak an early start, but if you happen to have 0 petals, they did make it so that they increase the amount of HP that it restores by 40%, but that's only with 0 petals, honestly. That's what the notes say right here. And it does have increased recovery speed, which is really nice. So I believe that's also applied to floor healing, which we're going to talk about that right now, in fact. So we're going to go ahead and go to level 4. Level 4, you have a choice between floral healing and sweet kiss. So we're going to talk about floral healing first. So floral healing is basically the move you're going to be using to heal off your ally, of course. And this basically means that you're healing your ally quite consistently while you're attached. And again, just like before, just like with synthesis, the more HP the more flowers that are consumed, the more HP that will be restored, basically. And then any amount of HP that is restored in excess of the ally's Pokemon's maximum, basically meaning that if the healing actually surpasses the full amount of HP that the ally has, the whatever is left over of the HP, it's converted into a shield. So basically, even if your ally happens to be full HP, if you use this move while they have full HP, it converts that healing and turns it into a shield, which I think is pretty cool. Basically makes your ally more difficult to be taken down in fights. Now, of course, you don't want your ally to, of course, be charging in, because one weakness I feel like with Comfy is that if your ally doesn't know when to back off, and they get themselves into a bad situation, and basically they get themselves knocked out, then you're pretty much screwed, because once they faint, you're pretty much like I said before, Comfey is pretty much an easy target if it's not attached to an ally. So Comfey is one of those Pokemon that really hard determines on the team comp, of course. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later. But yeah, floral healing is that move that is basic that just heals quite a bit, of course. And the more flowers you have, the more healing it will do. So that's something to take note of when it comes to this move. And then when you upgrade this at level 10, it also increases the movement speed of that ally Pokemon attached to it for a short time. That's actually pretty nice. So your ally gets more speed to either get away or to chase down an enemy if the enemy happens to be low to pick up the KO. So that's always nice. Floor healing gives more HP. It gives the heals, and with the upgrade, gives your ally a movement speed increase as well, which is really nice as well too. So that's it for floral healing. Now let's go ahead and talk about Sweet Kiss, which I think this move is definitely hilarious as well. So Sweet Kiss is basically the same effects as floral healing, minus the healing, of course, because this move actually does not heal. It actually is a hindrance move, which we're going to talk about that, of course. So basically, when this move is used while attached to a Pokemon, it charges power and then it makes Pokemon in the area effect infiltrated. Basically, makes them fall in love. Basically, and the infiltrated Pokemon are made to approach the user against their will. So basically, the this move makes is basically like a follow me to an extent. It forces the any Pokemon that happen to be hit by the move to come to where Comfey is. So imagine this with something like, let's say, Tyranitar. Like Tyranitar strives on enemies being close by. If you attach yourself to a Tyranitar, which fun fact, Bonbon and I did do that in a game before this past, I believe it was this past Wednesday, where we were testing out a comp where I was Tyranitar, she was Comfey, and she will use Sweet Kiss to bring the enemies near me while I pretty much just put them down. Because Tyranitar strives on enemies being nearby. So the more the enemies are near you, the better chance you'll be able to pick them up. Now, that's one of Tyranitar's weaknesses. Like if it's only strong if it's able to get the enemies that are close by. But if they're spread apart, then it's like T-Tar is not really as destructive. But with this, you bring them in, and it's pretty crazy. And the more flowers that are consumed for this move, the longer this effect, I believe. Yeah. Basically, the longer power is charged, the larger the area effect, and then the more flowers are consumed, the longer Pokemon are infiltrated. So basically, this move effect it basically makes the Pokemon infatuated. The longer, basically, the more flowers that are consumed. Sorry, guys, I'm not the best at explaining this stuff, so I'm trying my best here. So, basically, the more flowers that you consume while using this move, the longer Pokemon are going to be infiltrated. Basically, meaning that they're going to be forced to approach you for longer. The more flowers you have consumed. Sorry, I tried my best to explain that there, but yeah, this move is pretty hilarious because it just brings enemies to you, and this I feel like would work really hilariously on a Pokemon with an ally like Tyranitar, who just loves to make sure to put them down. It's pretty dominant, like when it hits its 9, of course. And then with this move, when you hit level 10, and when you get the upgrade level 10, just like Flora Healing, also increases the movement speed of the ally attached to it while the user is charging. So basically, this move gives the ally a movement speed while the user is charging the move. That's actually pretty cool. So as the user is charging, the ally gets a movement speed increase. So that's pretty cool. So I actually didn't know that was even a thing, but that's actually really cool. Now let's go ahead and go into the next move, which is of course Magical Leaf and Grass Knot. So let's talk about Grass Knot first. So Grass Knot is a move that does damage to opposing Pokemon and leave them unable to move. The move can hit up to 2 opposing Pokemon. If it hits 2 opposing Pokemon, it pulls the second to the first location and deals additional damage to both. So this is a move that pretty much pulls them in. Pulls them in, and if it does happen to hit 2 Pokemon, it pulls the second to the first and then deals additional damage to them both. Basically, so I feel like this move is also pretty hilarious to be utilized to bring enemies together. Basically, another way to force T-Tar to it's basically like that move that just brings them both together and does damage, and then sets them off for your ally to pretty much put them down. And then with the upgrade, it increases this move's area of effect, so you have more room to work with this move. I think this move is pretty hilarious, and it did get a buff to its cooldown, so now it comes out a bit more consistently, which is pretty hilarious, which is pretty funny. So it got a cooldown reduction from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, so this move comes out more consistently, as you guys already can see right here. So I think that move is pretty cool. I might test that out next time I play Comfey with a squad that knows what to do. So I might try out Grass Knot in the future. Then the next move we're gonna talk about, of course, its other move, Magical Leaf, which is a move that launches 3 curious scattering leaves each second for a set amount of time. The leaves target opposing Pokemon in the area of effect and deal damage when they hit. These leaves can even deal damage to opposing Pokemon hiding in tall grass. So basically, if a Pokemon happens to be hiding in the tall grass, the leaves can detect them. So that's actually really cool. So if someone tries to set up an ambush, these leaves apparently are able to hit to be able to find Pokemon hiding in the grass. So basically, if there's a Comfey in the team, they're going to be able to scout out for any Pokemon that happen to be in the grass. So that's actually really convenient. So if the team tries to set up an ambush, Magic Leaf just pretty much finds just shuts that down. Well, not really shuts that down, but it just gives away their location, so you could pretty much know where they are and then just punish them on it. So and then it says here, if the same opposing Pokemon is damaged 6 times by these leaves, the Pokemon will then be left unable to act. So it's basically a stun effect, which is pretty cool. So and then when this move is used, oh yeah, that's when if this move is used when the user is attached to an ally Pokemon, its area effect is increased. So basically, while you're attached to an ally, you have more room to work with. And then at level 12, when you get the upgrade, increases the number of leaves launched each second to 4, which is pretty cool. So you have 4 leaves going out once you get the upgrade, of course. And something to note that about another buff that they made, a couple of things that they changed up to. They increase the time to incapacitate opponents increase. Basically, that means that if a target happens to be hit with all six of the leaves, they're basically stunned. So they basically get themselves unable to act. Basically, it's the stun, and they increase that effect from 0.5 seconds to 0.75 seconds. So basically, that means that the effect of it is going to be lasting for slightly under 1 second. So it's a bit more than what it was before. It used to only be 0.5 seconds. So it would end so quickly, but now it takes a bit. Now the effect is actually slightly more longer. And they also made it where it prioritizes attacking Pokemon. So basically, it prioritizes attacking the enemy team rather than the wild Pokemon, which I think is really, really, really important, because the last thing you want to do is where you're in a team fight and your leaves end up targeting the wrong Pokemon and it ends up hitting the wild Pokemon, where you actually want to go ahead and target if you want to use the leaves to hit the enemy team Pokemon rather than the wild Pokemon. So they made it so that now this move prioritizes targeting the enemy Pokemon rather than targeting whatever's nearby. So I think that's actually really important, because the last thing you want to do is really, if you're in a team fight and the leaves end up hitting the wrong target. So that's the last thing you really want, honestly. So that's something to take note of course, when it comes down to Magic League, which I think is pretty important, honestly, when it comes to this Pokemon. So now let's go ahead and talk about Comfey's Unite move, which this is something that people also need to understand how this move works, because I've seen when Comfey unites and people don't take advantage of it. So we need to talk about how this Unite works and all that good stuff. So Comfey's Unite move is called Flowery Fields Forever. Now, what this move does, and we have to pay attention to this, is it has the user create a large area of tall grass around itself. Pokemon in this tall grass cannot be seen, just as with other tall grass on the map. If allied Pokemon enter this tall grass, they will continuously recover HP as long as they're in it. Now, see, that's the part that people tend to forget whenever it comes to Comfey. When allied Pokemon are in this grass, they get themselves hidden. So basically, it's basically like the grass that's on the field, except this is a grass that is coming from Comfey's Unite that also continuously recover HP as long as they stay in it. So, in order to take advantage of these heals, you have to be in the tall grass in order to gain the HP. Otherwise, you're not going to get the HP. So that's something that a lot of people I've played with, of course, tend to forget when it comes to this Unite. You have to be in the grass in order to take advantage of the healing. So you have to remember, if a Comfey unites, you see the grass, if you're low, go to the grass, and you're going to continuously restore HP. You make yourself hidden so enemies don't see you while you're in this grass, and you're healing. So that's something that's very important. And not to mention, they also increase the recovery by 50%. So you're actually gaining more HP from while you're in this grass. So if you're low, you definitely want to go ahead. You definitely want to go ahead and take advantage of this grass, because a lot of people tend to forget that this Unite, you have to be in the grass in order to take advantage of Comfey's Unite to be able to continuously heal, and you're hiding, and you're basically hidden so enemies can't really see where you are. Obviously, if they see the grass, they're gonna know you're there, but the important thing is that they're not gonna be able to lock in on you. Like, let's say, for example, okay, let's say Glaceon tries to lock in. Glaceon won't be able to lock into you if the enemy team, let's say, has a Glaceon, right? They can't lock. If they're running the Icicle Sphere build, they cannot get a lock on you if you're in the grass, because they don't see you, obviously. Versus if you're not in the grass, and obviously Glaceon can get a lock in and do a lot of damage to you. Versus if you're in the grass, they can't get a lock on you, so you can just pretty much freely attack the Glaceon while you're in the grass and they're not, basically. So that's just an example of what I'm trying to give. So excuse me. And then the user, while the user's in his tall grass, it gets special flowers, and then consuming these special flowers will boost the effects of Floral Healing, Ink, Sweet Kiss. So basically, these effects are going to be even stronger while they consume these special type of flowers. So that's something also to take note. So, and the buffs they did get with this move is that, like I mentioned before, it does increase the recovery by 50%, so that's more HP, that's more health you're gaining, as well as they also reduce the Unite move gauge by 20%. So this move will come up a bit more consistently, which is really nice. Because that's actually another thing Comfey really needed in order to really take advantage. Not really to take advantage, but to pretty much get this Unite more consistently, to aid the team, give them heals and all that stuff. So now the only thing is that, do the allies actually understand how this Unite works to go into the grass and take advantage of the heals? That's the big question. That's something that needs to be taken into consideration when it comes to having a Comfey on your team. If they Unite, take advantage of the flower field. You'll benefit on the HP. You'll benefit on hiding, so the enemies don't see you. So that's something that you have to definitely take note of when it comes to this move, to this Unite move in general. So, anyways, that's gonna be it for this deep dive. So, is Comfey worth purchasing with your AOS coins? Now, let's talk about that. So, Comfey is one of those. Is a Pokemon that I feel like just has really hard, better success with a really good working team. Basically, if the team is out of sync, if the team if they're not working together, then Comfey just falls so far by the wayside. Like, right now, even with these buffs, I mean, Comfey definitely is definitely better than it was before when it first was released. But there are supporters that are still doing better because they don't have to be attached to an ally. Like Comfey, I think the fact that it attaches itself to an ally is pretty cool, because while it's attached to the ally, it basically is immune. It helps the ally gain HP, or it hinders the enemies while it's attached to an ally. But the effects are only good if the ally knows what to do. Now, if the ally doesn't know what to do, then Comfey just falls by the wayside. And I think that's definitely one of Comfey's weaknesses, is that you have to have a really good working team. You have to have a really good team to take full advantage of it, and actually have teammates that know what to do. Because if a team doesn't work together, then Comfey just doesn't do anything at all, and it basically becomes a 4v5 for that game in that regard. So, do I recommend beginners to pick up this Pokemon? I'd say no, unless if you're a player that knows how to use supports and has a really good team that works well together. Then I'd say yeah, of course. Comfey has some pretty good niches and effects, of course, that you could take advantage to help the team. But if you're a beginner and you don't have a really good team and you're forced to do solo queue with randoms that don't know what the heck they're doing, and trust me, I've seen plenty of randoms that are just so bad right now, it's not even funny. I'd say no. Instead of Comfey, you're probably better off using something like Eldegoss, Clefable. Those are probably doing better right now than Comfey right now. But if you're in a team comp and you know what, and they know what to do, if you're working well together, then I say yeah, of course, give Comfey a shot, see how it works. But if if you don't have a team and you're forced to do solo queue, I say not real. No, I don't think Comfey's definitely not the Pokemon for you. Especially not for solo queue. Solo queue with this Pokemon is such a pain in the butt. Honestly, it's just so bad right now. It's just so bad, and they need to fix it. Now, item wise, I feel it's that's kind of tricky. I know for sure EXP shirt is a must on Comfey because again, Comfey benefits on supporting the team. You know, being able to attach yourself to ally and then giving that ally XP while they're gaining the the farm and everything like that. So I think EXP shares is a nice. Buddy Bear is also nice because it gives the your allies shields when you unite. And plus, considering that Comfy's Unite comes out a little bit more consistently, I think something like an Energy Amplifier is also a potential decent choice because the more you get access to your Unite to keep your team alive, the more, I think the better. I'd say it's pretty solid, I think. Or you could probably do something like a special attack spec to, if you're able to get those stacks in, you know, you can also increase the amount of healing because if you guys don't know, when you stack special attack, you're actually are gaining more special attack. You're actually gaining more special attack, and the more special attack you have, I believe that also helps with the healing too. I could be wrong, but that's something to take note of when it comes to this. Now, if there's anything at all I was incorrect on, please correct me in the comments below. So to conclude this video, I'd say Comfy is only good if you're with a team that knows what to do and are working well together. Otherwise, if you're in solo queue and you're forced to do solo queue, then I say no, you really don't want to pick up this Pokemon at all, honestly. Like, it doesn't even heal itself. It only heals its allies, which I think is kind of meh. So yeah. Anyways, that's gonna be it. That's gonna conclude this episode of my deep dive series going over Comfy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, of course hit the bell. I really do appreciate you guys, of course, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think. And I will catch you guys next time. Take care.